Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and we are now live. Let me flip a light on, sorry about that. Okay, that's a lot better. That's a lot better. So I'm starting this a few minutes early, probably like 18 minutes before I said I would. For those of you who chime in after it's uploaded, please remember to subscribe to my channel down below. Please follow me on Instagram. Join the Orc Army. And if you guys would, if you want to support the channel, but you can't really afford to, click my Amazon affiliate link. Right? You don't pay anything and I get a commission. So click that before you make any purchases. It's appreciated. I just realized I left that closet door open. And a shirt on my freezer. Man, I'm getting sloppy today with this. That'll teach me to start early. All right, that'll teach me to start early. Forgot to do certain things. So people are flowing in. We're up to 25 people already. So let's see if we get some questions going. Hey, coach, on average, how long do novices run your Ice Cream Fitness 1.0 program? Probably 6 months, 6 to 9 months. And I would say if you follow it properly and you push hard with it, within 6 to 9 months, you should have made the gains you need to make and you can move on to more advanced programming. Keeping in mind that program is probably the most aggressive novice 5x5 ever written, and I did that intentionally. It's not for everyone. Charles, one of my Orc Warriors, actually, I think he's an Orc War Chief. He bought that title. Good day, coach. What numbers are you planning on hitting at the meet? I don't really need to hit anything big at the meet. I need to get a 13, 17 total to qualify for Worlds. So my focus right now is just making weight. That's going to be the hardest part for me. And I'm a little worried because I have to trust the process because I've been drinking 2 gallons of water a day and the scale has gone up. But I'm going to do a 24-hour dry fast walking into the meet. Probably tomorrow I'll bring my calories down even further. I'm on almost no carbs right now. But I don't really need to hit big numbers. I, at the absolute most, will go for a 500 squat, 300 bench, 550 deadlift, which would put me like 30 something pounds over what I need to qualify for Worlds. Because I cut hard. I don't want to come in and max out. I just need to get qualified for my higher events. How do you use Amazon affiliates? Redmond, literally, you just click on the Amazon link and that's it. It automatically puts a cookie on your device, and anything you buy, the person who has the affiliate gets a commission for. As long as you buy it within the next, I think, 12 hours, and it deletes the cookie. Are you a fan of multiply powerlifting? No. When I have been a meat judge, I have judged it fairly. But I think multiply is dying out in the sense that raw is becoming dramatically more popular. Raw powerlifting is what's grown powerlifting. I think multiply has become so small that not many people are doing it anymore, honestly, by comparison. And I have personal friends who do multiply, and more power to them, but I'm not a big fan. I think raw is the way to go. Stiff leg deadlift to conventional ratio. There is no ratio. There's no ratio. Thoughts on Texas method, upper lower for a fresh intermediate? This comes up every single live chat. I don't really like the Texas method. I just leave it at that. Hey Jason, any tips on bulking and gaining weight for the skinny underwater? I mean the underweight. Well, you might be underwater too. I don't know. Eat more calories. All right. Very, very simple tip. This is where hard gainers struggle. Normally, we tell, overweight people reduce their fat and increase their fiber intake. It makes it harder for them to overeat, right? So think about that for a moment. If you struggle to get enough food, what do you need to do? You need to reverse that. Less fiber, more fat. Get your caloric density up, and you can still do that without eating junk food. You can still eat whole, healthy foods and do that. If I don't feel too beat up after 2 heavy day workouts in a row, can I do a third without worrying about recovery? There's no way in hell I would prescribe that for any of my clients, James. Some of my best clients train every 48 hours. They don't even train 2 days in a row ever. Literally, some of my strongest people. So what does that tell you? Even you see me only training 3 days a week now. I don't think you should be training 3 days in a row. Not at all. You will bury your recovery. How you feel may not be indicative of it. Coach, I stopped training 8 months ago due to a knee injury. I just recovered recently. My doctor told me it's okay to work out now. Should I start from the absolute basics of lifting again? Yep. Yes, you are. What percentages do you run your boring but big during deload week? For my clients, because I don't do any lifting on my deload weeks. I don't touch a barbell. My clients, I prescribe it at 40%. If someone starts lifting around 40 years old, how much slower do you expect them to progress in year one versus someone who started in their 20s? Mark, it's going to be slower. It's going to be slower. But does it matter how much slower? And will worrying about that benefit you in any way? If I told you it's exactly 78.3% of the rate of a 20-year-old, would you feel any better for knowing that? No, just focus on making your progress. Use the wisdom of your age to not do stupid stuff that 20-year-olds do to get an advantage over their faster recovery. Jason, can one build a good physique on isometrics alone? Isometrics don't even build muscle that well. That's what the research generally shows. Isometrics are kind of sport specific. They're not that useful outside of sport specific applications. Coach, thoughts on doing jump versions? Example, jump squats, clap push-ups of each of the movements on dynamic speed days. I'm not a fan. I think jump squats are going to risk hurting you. If you want to jump onto a box. You don't ever jump down onto the ground. Okay, don't do that. Same thing with the push-ups. Sure, it might seem helpful, but it just risks injury. If you want to do that type of explosive training, throw a med ball. You've seen me do it on a bench before with that 30-pound med ball. You do throws on a bench. You can lay on a bench and throw it in the air and catch it and reverse it. That is much safer. But don't ever jump down. Always jump up if you don't want to damage your Achilles tendon. Do you think sumo dead's banned in powerlifting? I wouldn't be upset if they were banned in powerlifting, but as they stand, that's the current rule. I don't see it changing. And when I've judged meets, I judge them fairly. And I do have some lifters who are a little stronger sumo. I would say it's about half and half. Half my lifters are stronger conventional, half are stronger sumo. I mean, but the gap isn't that big, right? It's not, and oftentimes a backpack grocery shop. I do about 5 minutes of sled drags at least 3 times a week. That's just my standard GPP. But I put on my 42-pound Rogue weight vest and I go walk in it and I go buy groceries and hump them home in a backpack and I drag a sled. I do early morning sled drags. Never on leg day, though. How long should someone bulk and cut? There's no answer to that. How long is a piece of string? Have you found out live feed makes more money, Jason? It makes a little bit. It probably is making more than my normal channel, but compared to my coaching, these live feeds on so far, every one of them combined I've done, probably make 10% of what my coaching makes on monthly basis if I were to compare so far. Do you think leg press is a good assistance exercise for squat and deadlift? Potentially can be, yes. It depends on where your weak links are. I prescribe the leg press. Benny Watts, one of my orc warriors. Hey, coach, I hate to bring up the dead, but looking back now, even though Rich Piana had a lot of bro science, he still told guys they need to bulk to gain muscle, which is rare these days. Yeah, I don't know that there's much silver lining in any of that, though, to be honest. Are you able to disclose? No, I'm not discussing the federations till after I get some meets out of the way. You guys will find out later. You guys have noticed I specifically avoided that for months and months and months. The meet I'm about to do, I paid for like 5 months ago and bought airline tickets and everything like 5 months ago. Smash that like button, people. Yeah, do what he says. How many sets per week per movement pattern for novices? Lazo, why don't you follow a proven novice program instead of trying to write your own? Then you don't need to worry about it. Novices shouldn't be writing their own programs. Novices need about the same volume that everyone else does, though. They just have more flexibility in that a novice can do low volume and still grow, and they're so weak that they can get away with higher volumes also and still grow because it doesn't beat their recovery up. There may not be much difference in their gains between those extremes. Coach, thoughts on using gravity boots and hanging upside down with a heavy dumbbells for flexibility gains? I don't think that's going to work. Jason, is it true that Arnold's dumbbell pullovers expand the rib cage? No, it's not biologically possible. For anyone asking about Candido 6-week program made me weaker while I was slow bulking. B, I've heard that from several people. That's come up every time someone asks. It's about 50-50. I've heard half of people say they got great results. Half of people said they were really unhappy with it. Have you ever run a sub 6-minute mile? No. Would you recommend upping salt intake on a cut to avoid hypotremia? Okay. Maybe. Depends on how low your carbohydrates get, right? As long as your blood pressure stays okay. What to buy first, a GHD or a reverse hyper? That gets asked a lot. It depends on your needs. Are you an older lifter? Are you over 35? Well, I'm going to lean towards a reverse hyper. Failing that, we come back over. Are you a contact sport or a field athlete? The GHD is more important by default for injury prevention. So if you're not in either of those categories, then it comes down to which is a bigger weak link for you. Glutes and low back, which means reverse hyper, or your hamstrings, in which case get a GHD. Coach, did you see the woman that recently competed that was ruled a legal lift in a meet while doing a close to zero range of motion on the bench? Yes. And I will say we don't need to, like I've said in numerous videos, I've made multiple videos on that topic. We don't need to change the rules that work really, really, really well and make judging easy and to make judging harder by changing rules for less than 0.1% of competitive powerlifters. Almost nobody, not even 1% of powerlifters can even do those short range of motion benches. It's really not worth worrying about because the bench is not what wins meets. Okay. Bench might be what breaks bench records. Bench presses do not win meets. Your squat and deadlift are what carry you to wins, to victories, to first place, to a total. Right? Biggest bencher at the meet doesn't automatically place better. They could place dead last if they have a terrible squat and deadlift. So you still got to be strong. Whether I appreciate the donation, I'll answer your question here first. I know when a supplemental / accessory lift stalls on conjugate, we are supposed to rotate the lift. Is there something we could do if it can't be rotated? Well, you could just keep doing it. I mean, that's the way the conjugate mindset, right? That's the conjugate mindset. It doesn't mean that you need to apply it to everything. There's a different mindset with conjugate versus, say, 5-3-1. But that is the general philosophy behind it. But they oftentimes have you rotate them often anyways, just to avoid overuse because Louis wants you doing sets pretty much close to failure, which is what causes overuse. And that's one of the reasons you need to rotate. All right, I missed some of those. So let me pick up in the middle where I can see these. Jason, would you recommend one do Rich Piana's style feeder workouts? No. Our recommendations for exercises to improve sprinting and agility for soccer. Same thing, regular leg work, squats, split squats, jumps, plyometrics. Any health drawbacks to melatonin you know of? Not that I know of. According to the research, there isn't. Thank you for the donation down here, brother. I can't say your name, but I'll give to your question. If my deadlift is 562, what should my 1 rep max good morning be? It depends on if you're comfortable maxing on a good morning. I don't know that I like to push the ultra heavy insane good mornings anymore. As someone who's done a 555 good morning on camera for you guys and has done sets of 10 with 390, maybe I don't know how much I would push people maxing on them anymore these days, other than for conjugate lifters who want to be maxing on crazy stuff all the time. But, realistically, I would say your projected max should probably be close to 500, with that deadlift. All right. So again, we got a lot of stuff got buried again. I need to set that timer longer. I'm 52-year-old and I've been lifting for about 20 years now. What's your opinion on how I should change my routine and rep ranges? Yeah, as we get older, and again, I do deal with some masters lifters, you need to watch fatigue management more. You need to really ask yourself, how much training volume do you really need? Right? You shouldn't be going, well, I think I should do 20 sets per, you don't want to overreach. Limit yourself to 10 sets per muscle group of quality sets a week. Avoid going to failure. You may need to deload more often. Keep your protein high, keep your good fats high. Okay. That's the best advice I can give you there, and listen to your body, and you can keep being strong. I have a 52-year-old actually now who's pretty damn strong. Coach, is IGF-1 superior to androgens in terms of benefits for size and strength? No, but it's synergistic with them. Jason, can one build sufficient amounts of muscle on a vegan diet? Why would you even try? Veganism's a mental illness. It's a mental illness and an eating disorder. Run from it. I know so many people who have permanent damage to their body from vegan diets. And I mean multiple friends who have permanent damage to their body. Run from that shit. Run as fast as you fucking can. It is dangerous, and it needs to be called as a cult that it is. All right, one of my orc warriors asking a thing. Coach, thoughts on raw eggs? Are dangers overblown? The dangers are overblown, but you have a much lower protein absorption. Like raw eggs, you do not get all the protein from. And that has been pretty well documented in the research. Don't eat them. Cook them. You'll get much, much, much better protein absorption. You're wasting protein. But, modern eggs are generally safe. Hey, Jason, do you have any advice for female lifters regarding nutrition when on a slow cut? I'm getting asked this by my girlfriend. Do not take her dietary fat down too low. That's the biggest difference. Women are very heavily impacted by hormones and fat intake when they're dieting. Be aware of that. Don't let her fat intake drop too low. All right, keep it high. At least 50 or 60 grams a day. Thanks for the next donation there, brother. Yeah, my 1 maximum GM is 330, so I guess I need to pound it. Yep, you got some muscle weaknesses. All right. Thoughts on banded leg curls for people with limited equipment? For restoration, they work. Justin, I used to have Justin do a bunch of those when he trained at home. Of course, gyms are opening back up again where he's at, and so he's back on a GHR. But I had him do those for restoration when he didn't have one. You're not going to build a lot of size, though. What program would you recommend for someone if they were training 3 days per week? Train similar to how I do or how my client Isaac does. We both train 3 days a week. We both put up vlogs of all of our training. You can see what we do every single week. I think that's a good template to work off of. I have degenerative disc disease, spinal stenosis, degenerative joint disease, all these things, man. I can train, but we get pain from sitting too long. Well, then don't sit too long and get a reverse hyper. Build up your low back more. Body fat percentage before a test cycle. There is no perfect. Why would you worry about that? All right. Someone quickly told me about ice baths and recovery. Look, professional athletes are often stupid and they fall for fads. Cold has been shown repeatedly to inhibit recovery from training and exercise. Okay. It slows down recovery. It's not me. That's what years and years of research has said. Okay. It's stupid. And these are people who don't read science and they fall into gimmicks and scams. The same professional athletes also get cupping done. Does absolutely nothing. There's no biological reason to think that it does. Jason, for example, we stall out on pull-ups. We can't rotate because needing to keep the lift in. Could weight resets or change reps? You could, or you could just change your grip. Go to a neutral grip pull-up. Go to a chin-up. Right? Simple enough. Jason, maybe you won't be able to answer this, but do you have any idea why people who are vegan tend to have yellow skin after a while? In that case, it may be excessive beta carotene, but I doubt it. Probably getting jaundice from damage you're causing their body. Again, I know multiple former vegans who have serious gut damage and digestive system damage that has not improved 4 or 5 years after they started eating meat again. Like, it's no joke. Like, you guys need to stay away from this crazy shit. All right, I'm not going to get into this whole high impact. Bro, Soldier of God, you are asking really goofball, off the wall, weird questions. All of this is bullshit. Let's stick to real training that's proven to work with elite athletes. No more gimmicky bullshit. What's your opinion on rotating 5-3-1 main lifts such as sumo, deadlift, squats? No, don't rotate the main lifts. Stick with your primary lifts. Stick with them. If you want to do any of those other lifts, they need to be done as assistance movements, not as primary. You are trying to get strong on your biggest basic movements. That's the whole point of those main lifts. Okay? Unless you decide those are a bigger movement that's going to work more muscle, and none of those are, I don't recommend you do it. Paul, one of my former clients, was a client for over a year. Hey, Jason, can I ask what is a good poundage goal for reverse hyper? Take care. Paul, 50% of your max squat for 10s, for 5 sets of 10. Thoughts on the YouTuber Scott Murray died of heart failure at 25 due to chronic overtraining, stimulant abuse, lack of sleep, and staying 5% body fat year round. Well, that'll do it. I don't know who he is. I did see the story come through my feed. A friend of mine was talking about it on her wall on Facebook. And I think it's very sad, but keep in mind, I do not watch YouTube fitness anymore. I haven't in about 3 years. I completely went cold turkey. I have no interest in watching any fitness YouTubers ever again. I've just cut it off from my life, but because I'm doing my own thing. I think that's sad, and I think this shows us the issues with anorexia. Jordan Hassan says, do you still recommend 100 chins per day? No, I got overuse problems doing that. I still do probably 200 pull-ups every week total, but not 700 chin-ups a week. Coach, have you ever thought about opening your own gym only as a tax sink if I'm making $500,000 a year so that I can sink money into it to declare on my taxes? Gyms don't make money right now. Like, it's a 50% business failure. So you don't start a gym to make money. You start a gym if you have extra money and you're in the fitness world and you need a tax sink. But if I started a gym, I don't know that I would want the regular public training at my gym. I would only want serious athletes. It might be a private gym. I'm not making the sort of money to where I have that to worry about, to need that for accounting purposes. If my income triples, maybe, and that's a big maybe. But we need to get me to 1 million subscribers first, I guess. You've said many times that dietary fat is important for certain hormones, but I'd like to know if animal fats and plant fats are equal in this regard. Casper, that is something that will require a 100-page answer. There's no way we can get into that. I think there are benefits to both types and a wide variety, and there are different types of plant and animal fats, and that's really not straightforward. It's a very, very complicated topic. Hey, Jason, what's a good brand of wrist wraps? It's about time to replace mine. I just upgraded from my Titans to SBDs because I wanted it to match my meat swag. So I bought the 36-inch stiff SBDs in the same color scheme as my singlet. But I was happy with Titan too. Elite FTS is also really good. Those are all good brands, and none of them are particularly expensive. Is it possible to train anywhere close to optimal with a simple rack? I mean, no full cage. You're better with the full rack for overall safety purposes. It brings a lot more to the table. I'm not going to lie. It really does bring a lot more to the table having the full rack. I recommend you get one if you can. But can you still train pretty close, pretty good, pretty damn good with a simple rack? You bet. I have clients who train at home who don't have room for a full cage, and they use like a half rack, and they do just fine. A technique tip: head position, gaze on the deadlift. You need to keep your neck neutral. Keep your neck neutral. And yes, I know there are exceptions. I know there are some champions, particularly sumo guys who look up, who are at the elite level. And I know Big KK, rest in peace, brother, was breaking world records looking down. But those are outliers. I'm going to say the general rule, keep your neck neutral. Coach, thoughts on collagen protein? Might be useful for connective tissue, maybe. It's still a big if. What would be your death row meal? I don't want to think about that. Is it good to focus on only one supplemental exercise? I do belt squats, RDLs, a good morning after a max dynamic, and how can I rotate these? That might be a bit much. Yeah, 3 supplemental lifts in one day on those is quite a bit, especially when it's bigger movements like that. You could probably get away with it as long as volume is good, but I wouldn't do it both days. I wouldn't do all of those both days. How do you rotate it? You rotate them. You guys ask things that are really simple. You answered it yourself. How can I rotate these? By rotating them. Right? You answered your own question. Are there any circumstances whatsoever you would consider doing it, prescribing a client Smolov Jr. for squats? If they were on massive amounts of testosterone, Dianabol, did not have a job, and they lived in a Soviet country to where they're an employee of the state, like they're owned by the state, and they don't have to work. They just have to power lift, maybe. Only Dianabol cycle worth it? Probably not. You're not going to be happy with that. I have 5x10 chin-ups on the overhead press day, an accessory for 531. I have stalled for 2 weeks on this specific exercise. What do you recommend? Why do you care if you stall? It's an accessory movement, and you're getting other big work that you're PRing slowly on. Do you not think you're still growing from doing your 5 sets of chins? Do you not think you're getting stimulus? I think that you still are. I feel like lateral raise are overrated from a training stimulus point of view, both strength and aesthetics wise. What are your thoughts on lateral raise? I think the lateral raise is fine. It's good. I prescribe it only for clients who kind of have certain goals. Like my guy, all of my clients want to be strong. I occasionally for guys who want to be quote unquote, they want to look better. They want to look good. Right. But I question if that's even necessary. I've known plenty of guys who didn't do any direct delt work who had that look. Think of Barton Burkham and look up how he trained. While running conjugate, what was the biggest mistake you made in hindsight while doing it? Going too heavy on the speed work and doing true maxes. Yeah, whether you're right, he needs a test base. Animal fats are based. I tend to agree. I'm pretty heavy on those right now. Hey, trying to balance running / swimming with 4-day 5-3-1 programming. Ran starting strength, got through intermediate. You think I can continue to get stronger if I drop the lifting to twice a week? I don't recommend you drop the lifting to twice a week. Cut your junk miles out. Do the amount of running and swimming necessary to reach your goals. And you consider taking it to a 3-day program like what I do with Isaac or like I do with myself, right? Have a squat, bench, deadlift day. Any supplements are useful besides protein powder and some vitamins? Yeah, some minerals. Fish oil, stuff like that. That's about it. Why will my strength not increase on anything? Also, do I have to progress every workout? What happens if I do not? Will I not gain muscle? No, you don't have to progress every workout. As a novice, you need to because you can. Your strength's not increasing because you're either not eating enough, not sleeping enough, or your programming is bad. You might need to fire whoever wrote your program and get on some better programming. Right? It's one of those 3 things are the only possibility. Food, sleep, bad programming. Coach, how do you think floor need to be for deadlift and rows? I'm thinking 3/4 inch plywood and 1 inch and 3/4 inch rubber mats. I think that's good. That'll do it. On 5-3-1 reverse hypers 5x10, be better placed in a slot after deadlift, GHR, squat, and good morning. It really depends. I think that depends greatly. I'm actually thinking of doing them just on my squat day right now. Coach, thoughts on wearing a heavy vest suit majority of the day as a form of GPP, you're not going to wear it all day. You're going to get really fatigued and hard to breathe. I wear it for 30 minutes a day. 30 minutes is how long I wear my 42-pound vest. And yes, that included today already. Guy down here asked, because he donated, thank you for the donation, what is your opinion on 6x6 instead of DE work? Only for phases. And here's the thing I would say, if you want to run RE work instead of DE work, I might question why you're running conjugate to begin with. You might be better off with a different system if you're not benefiting from or don't like speed work. It's viable, and I know people who do exactly what you said, but again, I might question why are you even doing conjugate then? If you're not going to run max effort, dynamic effort, I don't see the point. And this is as a coach who programs conjugate still for quite a few of my guys, like Mikey still does it. Heroin, there's over 100 people in the chat. Get those likes up. Absolutely. Weather asked a question, donated, so we get to his question first. I'm 16 and my floor press can touch my chest with a small arch. This is a good sign of good bench leverage. That means you're thick, bro. That means that you are pretty thick for a 16-year-old. You put some size on. Okay, one of my contributors, Disavow, asked a question. We'll cover him first. Coach, I've seen other creators, Amazon and link work in other countries. I believe yours doesn't. I use your link if it was available in my country. I actually have no idea. I have no idea if it'll work in other countries. I hadn't thought of that. All right, let me try to get up to some of these before. How to calculate how many calories we should take. You weigh yourself first thing in the morning, every day at the same time. Take your average. Track your calories with a food scale every day. Take your average and figure out your TDE. Then you will know how much you need to maintain bulk and cut. This week, your TDE will change on a week-to-week basis. That's why we need to weigh every day and track our calories every day for the rest of our life. And it's not hard to do once you get used to it. It becomes normal. Jason, do you train your obliques? I do Russian twists with the kettlebell. I don't do anything special for my obliques outside of my normal ab work and training. Back when you trained in commercial gyms, did you ever correct or advise people if there was former injury risk level, or did you just let God decide their fate? Again, it has to do with your personality and the way that you're able to approach people. I oftentimes corrected people who appeared to be lifting serious. Someone's on a machine, I didn't give a shit. But if someone's under a barbell squat or a deadlift, I would always approach them, usually after they saw me lift really heavy, right? Someone watches you rep 500 on a deadlift, you get their attention. Once they've seen you do that, then you approach that person and say, hey, do you mind if I make some suggestions to improve your deadlift or your squat a little bit? And usually they're open to it 9 out of 10 times. And they'll listen and then they'll ask you questions back. But barring that, you probably should leave people alone. Like if you're not really strong, you don't know what you're doing, you're not good in dealing with people, you don't have the personality for it, probably just leave them alone and let them do their thing. Ever heard of a compact GHR? If so, would it be worth it if I don't have room for the full size? I'm not a fan. They don't allow the full range of motion. It turns it into a partial movement. Coach, should a new novice on Ice Cream Fitness 2.0 bulk at 185.10? Thanks for your work. Slow bulk. Like don't gain 5 pounds a month. Gain a pound and a half if you're already 180 at 5'10". Okay. I would take it slow, maybe even only 1 pound a month. What do you do if you don't want to rotate in new accessories or assistance exercises in the next workout? Do you just change the rep range? No, just keep doing what you're doing. Are they appropriate accessories for what you need right now? Do you have any overuse symptoms? Are you taking the sets to failure? Those are the questions you ask. And if you know that they're ideal for your needs, you don't have any signs of overuse, and you're not doing the sets to failure, so you're not going to burn out on them, you don't have to rotate them yet. If you want to keep them in, it's not a big deal. Currently having to isolate, planning to do weighted push-ups, pull-ups, step-ups, sissy squats, banded leg curls, and single leg glute bridges. You think this is enough until I get back to the gym? It will help. It will help, but it's not enough. I mean, if you squat 500 pounds, you're not going to be squatting 500 pounds 6 weeks from now. Sorry. But it'll help. It'll help maintain depending on how long. Now, if you're only a couple of weeks, you'll be fine. Be perfectly fine with that. Jason, is it true the vacuum pose strengthens the core, maybe the transverse abdominals? Doug, former client for over a year, just bought an SSB Titan bar, which I recommended to you, and a Titan cambered neutral grip bar. Can we utilize them for 531, or is it best to only use them on conjugate? We can utilize them as needed for supplemental lifts, right? But stick to the straight bar for your 531 movements. But again, it's all about what are we doing for supplemental work. If you have the tools and we see a need for it, then you could use them on 531. Weather donated again. How long? Thank you. Let me get to his question. How long tibia is bad for squatting? I have longer tibs in my squat and deadlift for worse lifts. I'm 5'8" and can reach parallel on a 16-inch box. No, long tibias aren't going to hurt you there. Not going to hurt you at all. Just keep training, keep getting stronger. Can I do power cleans or snatches instead of speed work on DE lower days? What is the most you've done on the Olympic lifts? I've never really been good at the Olympic lifts, so nothing worth mentioning. No, you can't replace DE work with that. If you want to do the Olympic lifts, you need to run a different template. My 531 and orc mode clients, some of them do snatches and cleans, usually my fighters or my guys who do CrossFit. I got a guy right now who does CrossFit like 5 days a week. And then I have his lifting 4 days a week. And I program cleans and snatches because he's already good at them. But they're not a replacement for speed work. Stop trying to change conjugate, guys. If you're going to run conjugate, then run conjugate. Research everything about it. Understand how it works and quit trying to change it, or you are wasting your time. You're not going to get the results that you want. Okay. When you go with a training system, you need a proven system. You need to buy into that system. If you can't psychologically buy in, it's garbage. You won't make gains on it. Just find something different. Is replacing overhead press with closed grip bench valid for 531 system if one prioritizes the bench? Probably. Or you could pull the whole press day out and just focus on bench one day and stack a little more chest volume and tricep volume in there. But closed grip bench has its place in there. Heroin junkie to lifting junkie, one of my supporters. What's the best progression on 531? I have 5 pounds of bench each cycle and 10 to 15 pounds on squat and deadlift. No, that's just generic advice for people who don't know what they're doing. You base it on how many reps you get on your plus sets. Look at your plus sets and assess how many extra reps you got on the 531 sets and use that to figure out where you need to take the training maxes so that you can still get at least more than 1 rep extra every time, right? Use it to adjust your training maxes so you can still always get at least 6 on the 5 day, always get at least 2 on the 1 day, and so on. Because if you can't, it's way too heavy. How is your Titan SSB holding up, and how is it used? I'm planning on getting a Misfits SSB, which is a UK clone of the Titan. Mine's held up really well, and I have more than one client who has bought one and had no problems. I've squatted 530 on it before on camera. I've done good mornings with 400 pounds on camera with it before, and it holds up fine. The only downside, it doesn't spin, but it doesn't seem to matter. Is it enough to have 50 max effort exercise variations? Yeah, you'll be fine. Planning to start training MMA 3 times per week on a recreational level. Don't plan to compete. Can I count that as GBP, or should I add GBP cardio on top of that anyways? Depends on how intense it is. Depends on how intense it is. Coach, thoughts on training barefoot? I did so for a couple years on camera. Remember, you saw me squat 600 pounds barefoot. I think it helped build up my ankles quite a bit. Now I've gone back over to shoes. I think it can help build up your rooting to the ground. It'll help build your feet and ankles up. But once they're there, I don't think you always have to sustain it. Jason, is it true that too thick a muscular neck can be dangerous and actually result in death? It can contribute to sleep apnea. Weather donated again. Let me get to his question. Thank you, Weather. On 531, you add 5 pounds for bench and press and 10 for squat and deadlift each cycle. Can someone add 2.5 on bench and press and 5 on the squat dead? Sure they can. And that might be the safer way. Take your time. right? Take your time. Get up to one that I can fully read here. Running conjugate and walk my dogs for an hour a day with a weight vest. Do I need to do any more direct calf training? Probably not. I mean, are you going to compete in bodybuilding? Do calves really that big of a deal for you? Like I would say, are your calves strong enough to squat 500 pounds? They can handle that, and you're probably good enough for strength purposes. Do you have any clients who take gear, and do you expect more from those who take gear compared to those who don't? Obviously, I have clients who take gear. Considering like 30% of people who work out take gear, according to surveys, how could I not have clients who take gear? Yes, I expect more from them. I expect more from them. But honestly, some of my natty guys hang with them. I've never seen you with an Adonis belt like this before, Coach. Despite your loose skin, you may be leaner right now than most people realize. Yeah, I had a fan who I do consultations with a couple times a year, probably 3 a year. He actually, because he does some bodybuilding, he just did a show. He's like, Coach, I don't mean to sound gay, but I went ahead and took Photoshop and I kind of tightened up your loose skin. And he's like, just to see what it would look like. And he's like, I was shocked. He's like, you look like a bodybuilder. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. So, but I'm going to keep getting leaner. I'm probably going to get under 10% body fat to be competitive in my weight class. But I think the skin will tighten up more as I go. How many hours to space out cardio from weight training in order not to interfere with strength and recovery? If you're adapted to it, it's fine. I frequently on squat and deadlift days come and voice over the things, edit it, render it, upload it, and then walk out the door in my weight vest and go ruck a backpack with the weight vest. I do it all the time. Thoughts on Pete Rubish's natty comeback? Wants to pull 700 again, completely clean. More power to him. I commend him for the effort. I don't know if he's going to pull the 700 clean again. He might. We'll see. He does have good genetics. It's just that it's hard after you've been shut down like that because he did a lot of 19 Nors. I'm not answering this mouthpiece while training. It's nonsense. Should I extend my hips on dips and pull-ups? I'm not sure what you mean, brother. Trap bar versus straight bar deadlift. Straight bar hands down. I don't like the trap bar. I will quote my friend Alex Viata, what he put on my wall once. He owns Complete Human Performance. The trap bar is a solution looking for a problem. I don't see any point or benefit in it. I think the straight bar is better. You'll build a stronger back because it works your lower back harder. The conventional deadlift is easy to coach and learn. Okay. The trap bar is unstable at the top, which I believe makes it dangerous and injury prone. My opinion, says me. Actually, Ripto has that same opinion. Not that I agree with everything he says. Behind the neck press is an accessory exercise on press day. It's probably not worth the risk. Thoughts on the Bloat Lord, Kyriakos Grizzly? This came up last time. This came up a couple days ago. I think the guy is insanely, ridiculously crazy strong, right? I think he is extremely strong, and I will give credit for that. I don't think should be at the body weight he's at. I don't think it's healthy. I think it's going to kill him young, and he should do something about that. But he is strong as hell. And there's no doubt about that. Like, you can't deny that. All right, Natural Dude, I'm not going to get into all these hypothetical things. I researched loose skin a ton in the past. All right. How many times a year would you raw competition squat on conjugate if you're not planning on competing within the year? My conjugate guy's about every 12 weeks. What is that behind you? I don't know. Could you be specific? That's a 45-degree hyperextension. That's an incline bench. That's a trap bar. That's my dip handles. That's a freezer. That's a bookshelf. Okay. Oh, one of my supporters. Hey, Jason, can we keep some movement patterns year round like Pendlay rows, or would it be better to cycle through variations just as other compounds? They're multi-joint, not compounds. There's no such thing as a compound or isolation. That sounds unintentionally juicy. If you really like the movement and you don't get overused from it, it's probably fine. One of my supporters, let's see a rear lat spread on the early morning pull-ups, Jason. I think if you flex with them lats, you may fly away. Probably would. I should spread them out once. Why do most untested raw guys at top level last only 2 to 3 years apart from hack, but equipped guys have the longevity? Due to bad training. Bad training, overuse, overreaching. Right? Could one do speed pulls at 50 to 55% instead of? No, I think winning is right. You don't need to go ever over 50%. Right? Maybe even 40%. I agree with winning on it. Keep it as light as possible. Speed is everything on speed work. The bar should be moving 1 meter per second, and you should have no trouble recovering. Okay, that's the main thing. It's not moving that fast. It's too heavy, and you're not going to do that at 55 or 60%. I tend to get shoulder pain the day after doing low bar squats. In your opinion, what do you think is causing that? It's definitely only after low bar, not high bar. I try to thumb over and under plus wider grip. Keep working on your shoulder health. Do some high bar for a little while it heals, because you're getting some overuse inflammation that may go away on its own. Work on your shoulder mobility. Do some dead hangs. Find any other movements that aggravate your shoulders that may be contributing and cut them out. And build your rear delts more. I feel more engagement and stretch when doing closed grip bench with the multi-grip camber bar as opposed to the regular bar. Will I see similar results if I use only the camber bar for closed grip? For your supplemental lift, probably fine. If you're more novice-y and you want the best bench carryover, you might want to stick to the other bar. And there might be a problem with your form. Weather on 531, thank you for the donation. Jim said in his book, when you stall, you recalculate your training max 90% of one rep max. Do you recommend this? Love your streams. Yeah, when I get lifters who stall, I bring their training maxes down. I don't do it 10%, but I'll take them down 5%. When you said that you may be done with breakfast chats, does that mean you won't be discussing various topics and you eat specifically, or you're ending your 8 or 12 or so minute discussion of topics? No, it means I won't be eating. All right, I still have about 30 breakfast chats from last year I need to get uploaded over time, and I'll do them on days when I don't have other videos up. And then after that, I started making just voiceover videos again over training footage. I think live streams are going to handle most of my channel with vlogs. The channel is going to go in the direction of my training vlogs, my client vlogs, and the live streams. And these live streams are very popular. Not covering more Boston Lloyds. Coach, what other exercises are good for shoulders except for overhead press? I mean, again, depends on who you ask. There are experts who feel that benching, rowing, and pull-ups are enough to build your delts. Deadlifts will help build your traps. Otherwise, snatch grip high pulls, upright rows, different dumbbell work, lateral raises, plate, front raises, which I prescribe to some clients. It's a lot of great shoulder movements. Rear delt flies. Hey, Jason, just want to say thank you so much for all the years of fantastic information, the most informative content I've ever come across. Thanks for keeping it real. You are most welcome, brother. What is the minimum amount of training volume a person needs in order to see good gains? What does the research say? 5 sets a week. If you do 5 quality sets per week, per muscle group, the research says even non-novice lifters will see some significant muscle growth. What would it take for you to dust off and reclaim the hat of weaponsmithing? $1 million in cash up front. Thoughts on plate-loaded lat pull-downs in the power rack? Thoughts on plate-loaded? You mean fat pull-downs? So those are for people who are too fat to do pull-ups. I think you could just do inverted rows instead if you're too fat to do pull-ups and you have to do fat pull-downs. Are side delts genetic? A lot of guys get them from just overhead press rows, but some people have no delts at all, even with single joint work. It's more complicated than that. There's a genetic component. There's a body fat component. Really lean guys tend to have real big delts just from training in general, right? Should tell you something. Hey, Jason, why is my closed grip bench Much better than my wide grip. I PR with closed grip. A whole lot of reasons. Your pecs are probably weak. But to reiterate what I meant for that guy, their delts look big. Do you need to be genetically gifted to bench 400 plus and squat 600 plus, or can an average guy do it if they train hard enough? The average genetic guy hit those numbers without getting fat and without drugs. I think that's pushing it. Do I think a 315 bench and a 500 squat can be obtained by the average guy if they train long enough and hard enough? Yes, if they train correctly. What's the best thing to do when you can't add more weight to the main movement? You follow your programming. This is covered by whatever programming you're running already. If you don't know how to answer that, do not write your own programs. You're not qualified. Follow someone else's stuff. How to improve weighted chin-ups when I can currently do 125 pounds weighted chins for 2 reps. Best PR for me. I feel I'm stalling now. Maybe don't do so much low rep work. You're going to injure yourself on chin-ups that way. Do volume. Okay. How do we get good at any lift? All right. You're not improving your neuromuscular efficiency anymore. What's the only other way to get good to gain muscle? Hypertrophy. That's going to require volume. You need more chin-up and pull-up volume, not more weight added. Again, optimal volumes, not saying to do 50 sets. But you need to hypertrophy everything. You need to gain muscle. You've tapped out your neuromuscular gains on that movement. When I squat, my left shoulder gets out of position, so the bar gets in a weird place compared to my right shoulder. Any thoughts? Do more rowing and pull-ups, get your lats stronger, and learn to squeeze them together more. Best exercises for rear delts: wide grip pull-ups, rows, rear delt flies. At some point, with all the studies, etc., if you're not competing, is there any reason to not run a push-pull leg once a week or a typical bro split? I do push-pull legs once a week, and I'm trying to break world records. What do you advise? How often your martial artists train a week and for how long? There's no answer. How long is a piece of string? Some martial artists train twice a week for an hour. And I've had one guy who rolls for 2 hours, 6 times a week, to the point where he can only lift 3 days a week. Why can't strong 400-pound guys do a single dip pull-up even though they are really fat? You would think they could still outmuscle the weight. Greg Kovacs bench 600, couldn't do one dip. Well, maybe he's just too big and heavy. Gets in the way. His shoulders won't support it in that position, and he's just too heavy. I don't know. Then again, we're talking about a bodybuilder. They're not exactly known for their performance. Reverse band bench rows, a good exercise to teach and to feel the lat involvement on the bench press. Have you tried it? Thank you for all your answers. I've done that lift on camera years ago. I've absolutely used it, and I think it can be helpful for that. Just as kind of a supplemental lift for that purpose. I like these lives, man, even if you hate them. Solid idea. I don't hate them. I like these. But I'm following you for many years and always enjoy the content. Off topic, do you invest, coach? I don't discuss my personal life or my investments at all publicly. Can I snort D-bowl and make gains? You, sir, are an idiot. And that's all I'll say about that. I plan on competing in the 83 kg weight class. How much is a safe weight to water cut before a meet? And what weight category? I weigh about 87 kg right now. Dude, 4 kg is an easy water cut. Dude, that is ridiculously easy. You're fine. I'm not going to tell you the top end. I've done 18 pounds for a meet while on YouTube. The most of any of my friends that I know of a couple guys who've done 40 to 50 pound water cuts. That's 20 plus kg. That's crazy and that's dangerous. You usually need an IV with that. Should a bench with arms parallel to each other be stronger than the arms slightly less parallel to each other? I'm not really sure I understand your question, brother. It's really going to depend. I'm not sure what you mean by parallel, because in some cases, slightly out may be better because of the range of motion shift and the muscle involvement. But it's going to depend on the person a bit. Is low back rounding expected on a deficit deadlift? Depends on how big the deficit is. Just keep in mind, if you're doing a big enough deficit that you're getting low back rounding, you are very much changing the biomechanics of the movement. And you very much need to watch the amount of weight you use at that point relative, or you better have a really strong back. Although doing rep work on that is a good way to build your low back. Any new studies on the positive impact of weightlifting on morbid illness like cancer? I don't know of new studies. We have old studies that are overwhelming that suggest that anyone who's scared of cancer should weightlift. Like if you have any fear at all of getting cancer, if you've read even the 10-year-old research, your ass would be under a squat bar. Or you're not actually scared of cancer, or you don't know the research. Because we already know lifting twice a week, based on even the decade-old research, cuts cancer rates by 50%. Just lifting twice a week. Any type of strength training. What is the strongest or most impressive lift you've seen in person? I've seen bench presses over 500 pounds. I've seen squats and deadlifts over 800 pounds while holding the little box that says if I pass or fail the lift. I don't think I can narrow it down to one. Any of those, any squat or deadlift over 800 pounds and any bench over 500 pounds collectively falls into that category. Jason, how would you describe people who only care about size and people that only care about strength? Love how you're so direct and full of truth. People that only care about size, I have no time for them. People who only care about strength need to understand that they need to get bigger if they want to get stronger. Hey, coach, how would you incorporate strength training if I play soccer? The same way I do all my other athletes in every sport. You incorporate strength training and you mitigate fatigue based around your practice and other work. Your programming is not different, right? It doesn't matter what sport you play. We're still going to squat, bench, deadlift, do back work. Doesn't matter whether you play basketball, baseball, wrestling, weightlifting, strongman, powerlifting, tennis, golf, BJJ, boxing, or any other sports I've coached people for so far that I've strength coached them. Will getting a 550 deadlift help me with the ladies? Yes, it will. Glutes for the sloots, bro. Coach, did you enjoy your gym setup more when it was outside in the sun back in the day? No. You mean in the ice cold in the UK where it would be sub-freezing when I had to work out sometimes? No. Have you lost your fucking mind? How to tell when a cut is a water cut or a fat cut? Are you in a calorie deficit or did you specifically do something to cut water? I mean, either you know what you're doing or you don't. I don't know how to tell unless I know how you achieved it. You would need to break down the shift in your lifestyle that caused it, and we could determine that. Any noticeable benefit from going from regular 30-minute lifts to doing 30-minute lifts with weight plates thrown in a backpack? I have no idea. Some of the best calorie-dense foods for underweight dudes: peanut butter. Peanut butter, number one. Whole milk. In fact, here's what I'm going to say. Guys who struggle to get enough food in, get whole fat Greek yogurt and mix natural peanut butter in it or any natural nut butter. You're set. Or burritos loaded full of guacamole. Weather donated again. Let me get to his question. If at the age of 16 at 165 at 5'8", I can bench 230 and my dad benches 370 at 170 at 6 foot, how long to reach your big five standards if I'm okay to bulk? I can't give you an answer on how long. Guys, you guys always ask me how long on these things. There's no answer to that. I would need to watch your training and see your workouts and your progression for the last 3 months with a full list of everything that you did and probably coach you for 3 months before I could give you any sort of time frames on strength gains. I cannot do that for someone I haven't coached a minimum of 3 to 4 months personally and watched every workout and how you respond to set time frames. You can't do that. One of my contributors, one of my orc warriors asked, I experience a very sharp pain through both my forearms when I have to let go of the bar when performing a barbell curl. Any idea on what I can do about this? You need to probably grip the bar slightly wider and you need to cock those wrists back more. Okay. And you may need to work on your grip strength, right? You do dead hangs? Can you do pull-ups, chin-ups without straps? Must you deadlift without straps? Those forearms stronger. Thoughts on heavy support and partials to build confidence with heavy weights in the main lift, squat, walkout, bench, lockout. I know plenty of people who love that. I don't actually believe in that. Jason, do you recommend I do front squats to help my heavy squat turning into a good morning? I have long legs. Possibly. Front squats may help you. Good mornings may help you. But keep in mind, what you think turning into a good morning may not be what I think turning into a good morning is. A lot of guys don't understand what a good morning squat means, right? They don't understand what it means. The rank novice or the armchair critic usually doesn't know. So be sure that's actually what your problem is before you come up to the solution. But yes, it may help if you are truly having that problem and you have a weak upper back. But again, keeping in mind, good mornings, particularly SSB good mornings, might help. Do you have any other form of GPC besides the sleds that you enjoy and find beneficial? Sex. Outside of that, nothing. Great to see you streaming, Jason. Thank you for many years of great content. You're most welcome. You're a regular poster. I recognize that name. Would you recommend starting strength for a novice that trains in MMA full time? If not, what then? Starting strength would be fine. Some of my novice programs would be fine. Strong lifts would be fine. I do high bar, wide stance, sitting back squat. Is there actually any advantage to switching to low bar worth the shoulder pain of trying to get the extra 5 pounds? It depends. Depends. You have to mess with it and see if it's worth it. It may not cause you shoulder pain. But if you already got the wide stance and you're sitting back and you can successfully do that with high bar, with a real heavy weight, you may not get that much out of the low bar unless your chest is caving on you. Sorry, Coach. I love the streams, though. All good, brother. Coach, would doing a wide bench day, pinkies on rings, and a closed grip bench day on a 4-day upper, lower, 5 through 1 more advantageous than doing a bench day and an incline bench day? I mean, we could argue about that. You could probably do that and be just fine. Or you could drop it all into one bench day. It really depends. I don't know that we need 2 pressing days per week. I know plenty of guys who bench over 500 pounds who don't press more than once a week of any type. I got a Scout Hyper recently. Is reverse hyper every day for restoration viable? If so, what would the protocol look like? 5 sets of 25 with 25% of your squat. You might have to start a little lighter. You'll be good. Matt, I appreciate the donation there, brother, and you're welcome, brother. Most versatile specialty bar for a budget home gym, probably the most budget would be an axle bar. Failing that, like an SSB. SSB. Long as you get one of the 3 brands I recommend, don't get a shitty brand. Get Titan, which is your most budget one, Elite FTS or Rope. You're going to get a lot of mileage out of that thing. Failing that, things like a Buffalo bar. But again, it comes down to you if you need specialty bars or not. You may not need specialty bars for what you're doing. If my bicep genetics are very poor, do I have any hope of increasing muscle development? I do easy to row curls and reverse curls once a week. Bad genetics doesn't mean you can't grow. Bad genetics usually means a muscle insertion situation. Doesn't mean you can't grow. Why don't you do chin-ups and straight bar curls? That's what my lifters do. The guys who you see in vlogs who have big biceps, that's what they do. Would trying to stimulate reverse hyper machine on bench be worth it? No. Nope. You're still planning on wide gripping in the meet, even though you've always been stronger closed grip. Where is your wide grip? I don't know where my true wide grip is because I've sapped so much strength with the recent part of my cut and water coming down and water loading and everything. I don't have a good assessment. Yes, I'm going to keep working the wide grip. I'm going to probably do both in training with a heavier focus on the wide grip. Thoughts on pancakes for breakfast? Do you like it? Does it meet your calorie needs? Does it meet your nutrition needs? Then good to go. Does it not match those things? Do you not like pancakes? Does it not match your calories? Does it not meet your nutrition needs? And I'm going to say no. I'm doing 4-day a week upper lower and only squatting once a week has me out of the groove. Any advice? Why are you getting out of your groove? Figure out why you're getting out of your groove. It's probably a muscle weakness, not because you're only squatting once a week. Coach, thought on using traction devices. I don't understand what you're talking about. Are UMAX weight plates good? I don't know what that is. You ever plan on going back to conjugate, or are you sticking to your ORC method? I have at this time no plans to go back to conjugate. I will continue to coach lifters who come to me who want to run conjugate, who feel it's good for them and have the equipment to run it, which I currently do. Emma's vlogs show you that I have one. Do your clients like to compete with each other? Like you have said, competition breeds excellence. Sometimes I compete them with each other. Yes. I link them videos of each other, people close to them, to push them to, excellence. Axel and SSB are the specialty bars I get the most use out of. Both were decent price as well. I just feel like my Swiss bar and Buffalo bar are just sitting there in the gym. Yeah, that might be the case, honestly. I used to use the Buffalo bar a lot, but I haven't used it for anything in a long time. And I have 3 different Swiss bars. I don't even use them, but I have them. All right. I got through the questions there. I know I missed some of your questions. People either stopped posting or my internet connection died. So which is it? Because it shows that I have 111 people. Nobody's posting. So I hope my stream didn't die. My internet shows it's good. There we go. I have gotten 315 for 3 reps on squat and my deload week for 531. But today, on my 1+ set, I only got 310 for 2. Is it normal to have crap training days, or is it time to reduce training max? It might be time to deload. Might be time to deload, or for you to reassess what you're doing for supplemental work in your volume. Yeah, he said testing 1, 2, 3 internet. No, we're good. If my pinkies on rings are close grip, can I do wider to index ring for a stronger bench? Your pinkies aren't on the ring. That's not close grip. Right? 50,000 people used to post here. Now it's a ghost town. Yeah, no, it's because it just slowed down. I was getting over flooded a minute ago. Coach, thoughts on iron body training for durability against soldier? If you keep asking really weird questions, you're going to have to go, brother. And I hate to do that to a fellow Christian. Okay. I don't know what iron body training is. Where are you coming up with all this shit? Stick to standard strength topics. I have no idea what half this stuff you're talking about is. You're just making up words. Do you hear any top-level strength coaches in the world talking about iron body training for durability? Anybody who trains elite athletes or elite lifters. Okay. So why would I be interested or know what that is? Come on. What rate range should I aim to bulk to as a 5'11" male? 200 pounds. Right? At least 200, depending on how big and strong you want to get and how long you're willing to take to get there. You answered all questions. Now we're all strength experts. I will turn you guys into experts. It will happen. What's the best carryover for deadlift, GM or RDL? I don't think one is necessarily better than the other. RDL is probably going to carry over, maybe hypothetically slightly better to your deadlift, but it's also more fatiguing, right? If you're looking for a hip hinge that carries over to the deadlift, try the deadlift. These are supplemental lifts to build muscle. The closest supplemental lift that's going to give you direct carryover to the deadlift is going to be the stiff leg deadlift, because it's at least a close enough movement pattern. I find my chest is lagging in size, even though I do a lot of bench variations where pec flies help, or is there better movements to build pec mass? You should probably grip your bench a little wider and make sure that you're staying tight at the bottom of your bench. The bench should build a big chest. Okay. Failing that, you could mess with some dumbbell chest presses or some decline benching if your chest is lagging behind in a weak link in your bench. It's what I prescribe to people. Doug's in here. He'll tell you that's what I prescribed for him in the past. All right. He was posting earlier. I've already answered Jimmy Kolb's 1350 bench, and I believe it was 1320. I answered that one yesterday. It's insane. Matt, I appreciate you upgrading to Orc Warrior and joining the Orc Army. It's appreciated, brother. Sorry, but if I'm redundant, but when my pinkies are on the rings, my arms are slightly pointed in. This would be considered a closed grip. It's not closed grip. It's the way that you're not flaring enough. You're flaring too much. It's causing it. Tuck more, and that'll go away. It's your technique. There's no way that's a closed grip bench, not even close. That's like baseline wide grip. Closed grip, you need to be within an inch of the smooths to be closed grip. You know, unless you're telling me that you're 6'8". Okay, in which case maybe medium, the middle of the knurl might be a closed grip for you. What's the widest bench grip allowed in powerlifting? I forgot. You have to be covering the rings. Like the rings cannot be inside your hand. So this finger has to at least cover the ring to where the judges can't see it. That's the widest grip you can take. Okay. The bench I did the other day or yesterday, the ring was right here on this finger. So how do you become aware of the various studies on exercise science, nutrition science, or you subscribe to some sort of medical journal or something? I'm in lots of groups that circulate all the info. I get a variety of emails I'm signed up for, and I do rigorous searches on my own. Is doing good mornings the RDLs in the same workout for too much volume? I think so, probably. Jason, how did you train in your 20s like a jackass? Jason, I've been pushing the bench press like every 20-something does. All 20-somethings train like jackasses unless they have a coach. Jason, I've been pushing the bench press pretty hard recently. I've noticed a slight shoulder pain, which isn't affecting my strength. Should I reduce the volume, deload, stop benching for a while? You may need to deload. If I'm not going to compete in powerlifting, why can't I use straps instead of mixed/hook grips? Because you're going to have a weak pussy-ass grip. I recommend you still do those for your heavy work and strap up for your volume work. Because if you can't grip a 500-pound deadlift for a couple reps without your grip giving out with one of those, you have major grip problems that you need to fix. You're just not complete. Right? You don't have a complete strength base. Why isn't kanji more popular in the USP, or has it started to gain more traction due to politics and prejudices? It's that simple. Let me see if there's any others of these before we start winding it down that look good. I trained to failure on Bulgarian split squats on one set, and it caused me massive DOMs and had to cancel back squatting this week. Normally, I do 9 RPE, and I'm fine. Seems training can be precarious. Yeah, don't train to failure. I tell you guys not to train to failure. There's a good reason for that. Do you think glucosamine HCl with MSN is worth taking to support healthy joints? There's some data to suggest it might be. I'm not fully sold on it. Why you gave up on hook grip? Because I never mastered it. I never got my hook grip stronger than my mixed grip. Right? I never got it stronger because I have really short thumbs. So therefore, the hook grip doesn't work that well for me. I found the most that I could pull hook grip was 550 before it would slip out even after a year of practice. And that's not going to cut it. A 550 deadlift isn't good enough. Not when you guys saw me pull 625 at that event mixed grip. So I should lose 75 pounds because I have short thumbs? I don't think so. Any recommendations on substitutes for GHR and reverse hyper if I don't have access to these? I know nothing will be quite as good, but anything that gives some sort of benefit. Do other posterior chain work. Stiff leg deadlifts, good mornings, Romanian deadlifts. Even if you have access to a 45-degree hyperextension, right? Why won't powerlifting change the rules on the insanely ridiculous 1-inch bench pressing for the ultra arch small lifters? Because it would require a complete rules overhaul that would make judging more difficult. over a tiny, tiny, tiny little fraction of a percentage of powerlifters who have the ability to do that. And again, like I said earlier, the bench press doesn't determine who wins. Your squat and deadlift determines who wins. Why do you hate preacher curl? Because it tears biceps. It's a device that looks like it was designed biomechanically specifically to tear your bicep tendons. So I think the last question we're going to do is from one of my orc warriors. Do you think there's any merit to doing ass to grass squats? Not really. I don't think it's any better than going below parallel on a power squat. I think power squats just below parallel will build the most potential muscle mass because they have the most muscle involved, right? Think about what's going on in the low body. I think they have the most muscle involved. Now, is doing ass to grass squats useful if you're going to Olympic lift, right? If you're chasing a high level clean and jerk, sure. Outside of that, probably not. I think most people will build more muscle and more strength just doing a just below parallel or two parallel power squat. All right, guys. So we're going to go ahead and wind this down. I took it to an hour and 16 minutes. So please remember to subscribe if you haven't. Please remember to follow me on Instagram and all those other links that I have. It would be greatly appreciated. So I love you guys. I hope you enjoyed this, and I will talk to you guys next time.